Everyone talks about Mustangs and Galaxies, but deep in Ford's war chest of the 60s was a line of street assassins few remember. Fairlanes built not for comfort, but for conquest. These weren't showboats, they were launch-ready missiles. Fiberglass-hooded, drag-packed monsters that terrorized the quarter mile and vanished just as quickly. Today, we dig up the 8 most lethal Fairlanes ever unleashed on asphalt. Before Torino took the spotlight and Mustangs grabbed the headlines, Ford's Fairlane was its dragstrip dominator. These mid-size sleepers didn't just compete, they crushed GTOs, Camaros, and Mopars with brute force and stripped-down fury. From R-code lightweights to Cobra Jet beasts, the Fairlane quietly wrote its own legend at the track, one burnout at a time. This list isn't about hype, it's about horsepower, history, and the hidden monsters that ruled the 60s starting line. Buckle up as we reveal the 8 Fairlanes that didn't just run the quarter mile, they owned it. Top 1, 1963 Fairlane 500-406, Tri-Power Lightweight. It looked like a humble Fairlane until it didn't. Behind the dog dish hubcaps and plain trim was a Detroit-born assassin, a factory-built sleeper packing triple carbs and a V8 that belonged on a drag strip, not a family sedan lot. In 1963, Ford's Total Performance campaign hit the streets hard, and the Fairlane 500 was its secret middleweight weapon. This wasn't your average commuter coupe. Stripped down and acid-dipped, the body was light enough to float compared to its full-size Galaxy sibling. Inside, things were no-nonsense. Bench seats, radio Demeet, zero frills. But under the hood, that's where things got mean. It featured the legendary FE Series 406 cubic inch V8, upgraded with triple 2-barrel Holley carbs, better known as the Tri-Power setup. Rated at 405 horsepower, this was Ford's last hurrah before the 427 arrived, and it screamed through a 4-speed top-loader. In a straight line, it was downright scary. With slicks and good traction, this Fairlane could hit the quarter mile in the high 12, unheard of for a mid-size Ford in '63. But here's the catch. Ford never officially sold this car to the public. These were lightweight test mules and early competition specials, shipped out the back door to trusted racers. Most were disassembled, raced to death, or crushed. Survivors are nearly mythical. Production numbers? Still debated, but most agree fewer than 10 were ever built with the 406 Tri-Power lightweight combo. Today, if one pops up, usually in a private collection or race barn, it's a 7-figure conversation starter, not because of shiny chrome or rare badges, but because it was a ghost. A pre-Thunderbolt, pre-Torino glimpse of Ford's drag obsession before it became official. And if you thought this street assassin was rare, wait until you meet the next Fairlane that Ford actually advertised, but built like a secret weapon anyway. Top 2, 1966, Fairlane 500-427. R-code, lightweight, 4-speed. Forget the Mustang. In 1966, if you wanted the nastiest Ford on the street, you walked past the pony cars and straight to a mid-size menace with factory delete everything, except the most feared V8 Ford ever made. The 1966 Fairlane 500 R-code wasn't just a car. It was a cannonball with doors. On the outside, it looked like any basic Fairlane. Chrome-trimmed fenders, basic steelies, and a plain grille. But everything under the skin screamed war machine. No AC, no power steering, no radio. What you got was raw, a lightweight chassis built to handle one thing: straight-line savagery. And under the hood, the almighty 427 cubic inch FEV8, dual-quad carbs, solid lifters, cast-iron headers. Rated conservatively at 425 horsepower, but rumored to push 500 plus in real-world tune. Backed by a top-loader 4-speed and a 9-inch rear with steep gears, it launched like a mortar shell. Quarter mile, 12.4 seconds at over 115 miles per hour on skinny bias plies. But this wasn't mass-produced muscle. These R-code Fairlanes were purpose-built for NHRA superstock and were never meant for the average buyer. Less than 60 units were believed to be built, each hand-assembled with drag racing in mind. Some were sold through special dealers like Tasca Ford, or sent straight to racers with connections inside Dearborn. Today, these Fairlanes are nearly extinct. Survivors fetch upward of $300,000 at auction and often come with full documentation and racing provenance. They're not just rare, they're sacred. Even among Ford guys, an R-code 427 Fairlane earns immediate respect. And for collectors, it's one of the hardest blue oval beasts to chase down. But as brutal as the 427 R-code was, Ford wasn't done. They had one more Fairlane up their sleeve, one that bent the NHRA rulebook and made even this monster look tame. Top 3. 1964 Fairlane Thunderbolt 427 R-Code. At a glance, it looked like a granny grocery getter with dog dish hubcaps. But under that quiet Fairlane shell was a monster so fast, the NHRA had to change its rulebook to keep up. The 1964 Fairlane Thunderbolt was born in Ford's Skunk Works, not in a boardroom, but on the drag strip. Based on the humble Fairlane 500 two-door post, the Thunderbolt was stripped of everything not needed to dominate. No heater, no radio, no armrests, plexiglass windows, fiberglass fenders, and hood with a giant teardrop scoop. It was Ford's win-at-all-costs response to Mopars Hemi and Chevy's 409 under the hood. The 427 CI high-riser V8, breathing through dual Holley 4-barrels atop a high-rise manifold. Officially rated at 425 horsepower, but everyone in the pits knew it was closer to 600. With 480 pound-feet of torque and a curb weight around 3,200 pounds, it could rocket through the quarter-mile in the low 11s. That was fast enough to wipe out nearly everything in its NHRA Superstock class. But Ford never planned to sell these to the public until homologation rules forced their hand. So Ford built exactly 100 units, just enough to qualify. These weren't sold at dealerships. They were shipped directly to select racers with a simple message: win. And they did, blistering the drag strip from coast to coast, often running faster than full-on factory-backed pro stockers. The Thunderbolt was too wild to last. NHRA regulations clamped down on its advantage, and Ford pulled the plug after just one season. Today, surviving Thunderbolts are some of the rarest and most valuable drag legends in existence, often topping $400,000 at auction if original and unrestored. But while the Thunderbolt may have burned bright and fast, the 427 legacy didn't die there. Ford wasn't finished shoving big blocks into Fairlanes, and the next one blended brutal horsepower with street manners just enough to blur the lines. Top 4, 1967, Fairlane 427. RW code. You didn't just buy a 1967 Fairlane 427, you earned it. This wasn't a car for your average Sunday cruiser. It was a street-legal battering ram, whispered through dealer back doors and ordered by code if you knew the right guy behind the counter. To the untrained eye, it looked tame, just another Fairlane 500, maybe a GT. But under the plain skin lived Ford's most vicious street weapon, the 427 cubic inch side-oiler V8, R-code rated at 425 horsepower. Bolted to a top-loader 4-speed and tucked into a reinforced chassis, this car was engineered by Ford's racing division to dominate the Superstock class. With heavy-duty suspension, 9-inch rear axle, and minimalist exterior cues, dog dish hubcaps, narrow white stripes, and a tiny 427 badge, this Fairlane was the quietest way to declare war. While the 4-speed R-code got all the attention, the real sleeper was the WH code variant, a factory-built automatic with a fortified C6 transmission, intended for drag racers who wanted consistent launches. Ford only built 229 Fairlanes, with the 427 engine that year. It's believed less than 50 were W codes, making them unicorns even among unicorns. These weren't advertised, weren't in brochures. Most were handed to racers through Ford's Total Performance program, or snuck through special dealer networks like Tasca or Holman Moody. What did it do to the quarter mile? Recode manuals ran 12.8 seconds with slicks. W codes clocked consistent 13.3s off the showroom floor. NHRA fans knew what these cars were and feared them. Survivors today sell for over $150,000, with WC edging higher due to their near-mythical status. If you spot one at an auction, chances are it's been locked away in a private collection, untouched for decades. But even this no-nonsense brute would soon meet its match. In 1968, Ford unveiled a Cobra in disguise, and it didn't need a flashy nameplate to leave its enemies in the dust. In Top 5 1968 Fairlane 500 428 Cobra Jet non-Torino badged. It didn't say Cobra Jet on the fender, it didn't wear stripes, spoilers, or aggressive scoops, but this Fairlane 500 hit a snake under the skin. A venomous, drag-strip-engineered monster that Ford unleashed quietly in 1968 to rewrite the street racing rulebook. Most muscle car fans associate the Cobra Jet with the Mustang, but the Fairlane 500, the mid-size sleeper in Ford's fleet, was the original testbed for the legendary 428 CJ engine. Born out of the super stock wars, this engine wasn't just powerful, It was a loophole special developed in secrecy by Ford's Skunk Works after getting beaten too many times by Mopars and Chevys at the lights. At the center, a 428 CI flat big block, officially rated at 335 horsepower, but actually pumping closer to 410 plus horsepower thanks to high-flow 427 heads, a Holley 735 CFM 4-barrel, and 10.61 compression. When paired with the C6 automatic or 4-speed toploader, it launched this mid-size sedan down the quarter mile in just 13.2 seconds. What makes this car rarer? It wasn't branded as a Torino. That came later in mid-68. Early Cobra Jet Fairlanes wore only a Fairlane 500 badge. No GT trim, no flashy graphics. Ford built only a small batch of early production 428 CJ Fairlanes before shifting focus to the Torino Cobra. Precise numbers are murky, but experts estimate fewer than 400 non-Torino badged CJ Fairlanes were made, and even fewer survive unmolested today. Despite its modest looks, this was a street king. It crushed SS 396S and GTOs straight off the lot. At auctions, when one pops up, collectors scramble, with recent sales pushing $90,000, $110,000 depending on originality. For purists, this was the real sleeper Cobra Jet, born before marketing caught up. But while the Cobra Jet rumbled with brute force, another Fairlane was already in the wings, a 390-powered 4-speed fighter that carried the GT badge and a whole different kind of swagger. Top 6, 1966, Fairlane GT 394. Speed S-Code. If you saw it in your rearview mirror in 1966, it looked like any other mid-sized Ford. Until it didn't. The Fairlane GT wasn't just Ford's answer to the GTO, it was Detroit's declaration of war in 4-speed form. The GT badge was new that year, and so was the attitude. Ford took the clean, straight-lined Fairlane body, added a dual-scoop fiberglass hood, special GT stripes, chrome exhaust tips, and bold 390 callouts. But the real story lived under that hood. The S-Code 390 cubic inch V8. Officially rated at 335 horsepower, it delivered brutal low-end torque and a 6,000 RPM redline that begged for wide-open throttle. When paired with the top-loader 4-speed manual, the car became a brute force street weapon. 0 to 60, just over 6.5 seconds. Quarter mile, mid-14s. Not earth-shattering compared to factory drag freaks, but in the mid-size production muscle segment, the GT390 was a wrecking ball. But what most people forget? The Fairlane GT wasn't some flash-in-the-pan special edition. Ford built it to move units. In total, 33,015 Fairlane GT hardtops were produced in '66, but only a fraction came with the 4-speed manual. To making original S-Code 4-speeds harder to find than you'd think. Add in color combos like candy apple red or night mist blue with bucket seats and factory tacks, and you've got a collector's dream. Today, the 390 GT 4-speed cars are undervalued gems, with prices hovering around $40,000, $60,000 depending on condition. Survivors with original drivetrain and Marti reports are finally getting attention as the working man's muscle car of the '60s. But just when the GT390 found its rhythm, a younger cousin rolled in, lighter, smaller, but ready to punch way above its class, with a 351 Windsor and the heart of a bracket racer. Top 7, 1969, Fairlane 500 351, W4 speed, stock class build. At first glance, it looked like just another Sunday cruiser. But this plain Janane 69 Fairlane 500, hiding a Windsor small block and a factory 4-speed, was no mall parking sleeper. It was a stock class bracket assassin. While the Torino nameplate was taking over the marketing brochures, the base Fairlane 500 kept its low-key muscle car DNA intact. Under the hood of this stripped-down sedan sat a 351 cubic inch Windsor V8. Rated at 290 horsepower, this wasn't your average commuter. It came alive with factory dual exhaust, 10.71 compression, and a Holley 2-barrel carb, paired with a close-ratio top-loader 4-speed and optional 3.91 rear gears. It was Ford's sleeper solution for NHRA stock class runs. Externally, there was little flair. No scoops, no stripes, no decals, just bench seats, steel wheels, dog dish hubcaps, and a flat hood. Perfect for those wanting performance without the insurance premiums or attention. The interior kept it humble, too. with basic black vinyl, manual everything, and just enough instrumentation to keep you focused. What made the 351W Fairlane stand out wasn't raw horsepower, it was consistency. In bracket racing, where winning depends on running the same time over and over, this car's lightweight, gearing, and simplicity made it a local track legend. Some owners even pulled high 13S on slicks without touching the internals. While Ford didn't track exact numbers for this 4-speed configuration, production estimates suggest fewer than 2,000 units were equipped this way, making it an underappreciated rarity among late 60s small block contenders. Most buyers overlooked these cars in favor of flashier Mach 1S or GTOs, which makes finding a real deal 4-speed 351W Fairlane today rare. Surviving examples in uncut condition now trade hands around $25,000 to $30,000, climbing as nostalgia for grassroots drag racing rises. And while this small block bruiser played it cool, what followed next wasn't subtle. It wore its performance loud and proud, right down to its GTA badges and big block growl. Uffing 12 1967 Fairlane GT A390 GT Automatic. Don't let the A fool you. This wasn't some lazy boulevard cruiser. The 1967 Fairlane GT A390 packed real muscle, and despite the automatic badge, it roared off the line like a street brawler with something to prove. In 1967, Ford's Fairlane lineup was a muscle car playground. The GTA was the automatic transmission version of the GT, and came standard with the mighty S-Code 390 cubic-inch V8. Rated at 320 horsepower and 427 pound-feet of torque, this big block beast was mated to Ford's heavy-duty C6 3-speed automatic, a transmission tough enough for police interceptors and drag-ready. The GTA came dressed to intimidate. Twin GT stripes, red-line tires, dual exhaust with chrome tips, and a domed hood that hinted at something sinister underneath. Inside, you got bucket seats, a floor-mount shifter, full instrumentation, and optional deluxe trim. While some mocked automatics back then, this wasn't your average grocery getter. It was purpose-built for muscle with convenience. Though manual purists turned up their noses, the GTA proved faster in real-world drag conditions. With consistent shifts and brutal low-end torque, the GTA often beat stick-shift Fairlanes off the line. Quarter-mile times hovered in the mid to high 14-second range with factory gearing, and many shaved more with tuning. Only around 18,000 GT and GTA Fairlanes were produced in 1967, and even fewer came with the full 390 GT package. Survivors today can fetch $35,000, $50,000, depending on originality and condition. Especially examples with deluxe trim, factory disc brakes, and Marty Report documentation. Many were thrashed, stripped, or cloned into GTs, making original GTAs a rare find. This automatic bruiser might have been the last of the car show, but it was first off the line. And now, collectors are realizing what a mistake it was to underestimate it. And while the GTA was all about pairing big block brute force with automatic aggression, the 60s Fairlane that came before it played a very different game. Lighter, louder, and built to terrify from the moment it rolled off the line. These Fairlanes weren't built to be pretty. They were built to win, and win fast. From aluminum-paneled prototypes to stock-class warriors with shocking muscle, each car on this list proves that Ford didn't just play the muscle car game, it rewrote the rules with the Fairlane. If this list surprised you, hit that like button and let us know which forgotten Ford deserves a comeback. Don't forget to subscribe to Muscle Cars Revolution for more drag strip legends, barn-find monsters, and factory freaks that change the streets forever. The next ride might just be even wilder.